Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're gearing up for exams like CAT, XAT, SNAP, or those incredibly tough bank exams, you already know the stakes are through the roof. And you probably also know that while just about anyone can tackle a basic bar graph, there's this one specific, absolutely dreaded type of problem that just completely separates the average test takers from the top 1%. It's the ultimate test of your reasoning and logic when the clock is mercilessly ticking down.
So I've got to ask you, what is that fundamental difference between the candidate who literally freezes in panic and the topper who just breezes right through these problems? Well, I'll give you a massive hint here. The answer actually has nothing to do with complex, advanced math. No way. The real secret, the true cheat code here, is mastering the art of translation.
Here's our roadmap for mastering this today. 1. The Caselet Challenge. 2. The STR Struct Framework. 3. Advanced Caselet Types. 4. Shortcuts for speed. And finally, number 5, avoiding common traps.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Caselet Challenge. Let's look at why these things are so incredibly tough.
To really get this, let's contrast your standard caselet with an advanced one. A simple caselet, it might just hand you 4 direct numbers and ask for a super straightforward percentage. Easy enough, right? But an advanced caselet, it throws 3 absolute nightmares at you. First, hidden variables, meaning the data isn't direct at all. You literally have to infer it. Second, interconnected conditions, where you've got multiple ratios tangled up in the exact same dataset. And third, honestly the most intimidating part, there are absolutely 0 visual aids, no tables, no charts, just a giant block of raw, unstructured text.
And because of all that raw text, you've got one core goal. It all boils down to this number right here, 90. You absolutely must be able to translate an entire paragraph of messy English into crisp mathematical equations in under 90 seconds. Literally, if it takes you longer than 90 seconds, you're already losing the battle against the clock.
Which brings us to the biggest paradigm shift you need to make right now. Think about it this way. Caselets are not math problems. They are translation problems. I really want that to sink in. Your job isn't crunching numbers right out of the gate. Your real job is to convert English sentences into equations faster than the person sitting next to you.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Struct Framework. This is our 5-step sequence.
Okay, so the single most crucial part of this entire sequence is actually step 0, and that is, do not start solving immediately. Just don't do it. Instead, deliberately follow these 5 STRUC steps. First, scan and segment. Just figure out exactly how many entities and categories you're actually dealing with. Second, tabulate mentally. Basically, create a blank mental grid on your scratch paper. Third, record relationships by going sentence by sentence, translating text to math. Fourth, unify variables by finding that one common thread to link everything together. And then, only then, step 5, calculate and check, verifying against the text as you go along.
Next up, Section 3, Advanced Caselet Types. These are what we like to call the boss battles.
So you're going to face 3 main enemy types here. Number 1 is partial data combined with ratios. Number 2 is the tricky interdepartmental transfer. And number 3, the absolute final boss of the caselet world, is the multi-product and multi-shop structure. Let's break down exactly how to defeat every single one of them.
Starting with that first type, partial data and ratio. Here, you're usually handed totals for a few categories and just ratios for the rest. Now, here is a massive tactical nugget that's going to save you so much time and headache. Always start by assigning the smallest variable as x. It sounds so simple, but this one move keeps your calculations incredibly clean and integer-friendly. It basically stops those messy, time-sucking fractions dead in their tracks. Then we have the interdepartmental transfer. This is that classic, super annoying pattern where things are constantly moving between groups, which obviously messes up all your percentages. But setting up a mental grid here is a total game changer. It brilliantly prevents cascading errors. Just look at how this breaks down. By explicitly tracking the initial stage, the actual transfers in the middle, and then the final stage, you physically stop yourself from calculating percentages on the wrong base. Like if the text says 10% of those initially against, you know to look straight at that initial 4,000, not some random intermediate number. It keeps you totally grounded.
And then we hit the final boss, the multi-product, multi-shop caselet. This is where they just throw the kitchen sink at you. Totals, ratios, profit margins, discounts, the whole shebang. Your absolute go-to strategy here is the grid and equation method. Basically, you map out your shops down the left side and your products across the top. It lets you systematically track every single quantity and price. You write down your knowns, like that 10,000 in revenue, and mark your unknowns with clear variables. It literally transforms a terrifying paragraph into a totally solvable system.
Now, a quick heads up on this. When you're filling out that multi-shop grid, you might suddenly realize, wait, I have 4 unknowns but only 3 equations. Do not panic, seriously. This is actually a critical aha moment for advanced solvers. If you've got 1 less equation than you have unknowns, it almost always implies that the final answer is completely independent of that free variable. Or it means you need to rely on the fact that these quantities, like, people or physical products, naturally have to be whole numbers. You can't have half a person, right?
All right, let's dive into Section 4, Shortcuts for Speed. These are your exam cheat codes.
Okay, this first one is pure gold, the alligation technique. It completely bypasses all that complex algebra. Say a caselet talks about combining a group of boys who average 150 centimeters tall with a group of girls averaging 140 centimeters, and the overall class average comes out to 146. You do not need to write out some massive equation for this. You just look at the differences from that middle average. 150 is 4 away from 146. 140 is 6 away. Cross those numbers over and boom, your ratio of boys to girls is 6 to 4, which simplifies to 3 to 2. It gets you straight to the ratio in literally seconds.
Here's another incredibly elegant shortcut: vertical and horizontal balance. In any grid, whether it's 2x2 or 3x3, the sum of your row totals absolutely has to equal the sum of your column totals, which of course equals your grand total. So if you're ever just missing one pesky little cell, don't waste time writing out algebraic equations. You can almost always find it through simple, basic subtraction of the row and column totals you already have. Let's throw a few more golden formulas onto your cheat sheet. First, the overlap formula. Total equals group 1 plus group 2 minus both plus neither. Memorize that because it instantly solves like 40% of 2-category caselets. Second rule of thumb, always convert ratios into fractions of a total base. Trust me, it saves you from falling into nasty percentage traps. And finally, if they give you 2 overlapping ratios, just use the lowest common multiple method to equalize the common terms. Which smoothly brings us to Section 5, Avoiding Common Traps, How to Dodge the Examiner's Minefield. Look, the examiners are actively trying to trick you, so you have to play defense against these 4 specific traps. The absolute deadliest one? The difference between only A and A. Think about it. If 50 people like A, that number includes people who like A and B, or even A, B, and C. So always draw a Venn diagram and make sure you write only A separately. Trap number 2. Always ask yourself percentage of what exactly. Explicitly write down the base. Trap 3. Keep a really close eye on your totals after any transfers happen. And trap 4. If you ever find yourself calculating a fraction of a human being or a physical product, stop right there. You've definitely made a wrong assumption somewhere. Reevaluate your integers.
Seriously, if you take nothing else away from this whole explainer, remember this: your absolute best 45-second fallback strategy is back solving. It is a total lifesaver. Remember, this is a multiple choice exam. If you're staring at 3 or more unknowns and you only have 2 equations, please do not sit there wasting 3 precious minutes trying to force the algebra. Just grab an answer option, plug it right back into the text, and see if it mathematically satisfies all the conditions. It feels like cheating, but it works flawlessly.
And finally, Section 6, the translation test. Let's talk about building daily practice.
I want to leave you with a super concrete daily practice routine. Go grab a paragraph from the business section of any newspaper. Find something talking about revenues, growth, costs, whatever. Then, force yourself to convert that block of text into mathematical equations in under 60 seconds. Do this 50 times over the next few weeks. I guarantee you it will literally rewire your brain. Pretty soon, those terrifying advanced caselets are going to feel exactly like simple reading comprehension.
So there you have it. The whole blueprint is right in your hands. You've got the framework, you know exactly which traps to dodge, and you've got the speed shortcuts. The only thing left to do is actually put in the reps. So here's my final question for you. Are you ready to stop calculating and finally start translating? Get out there, hit those practice sheets, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.